Since the beginning of culture, man has striven to entertain himself. Music is the simplest and, in my opinion, the most powerful diversion ever conceived. Music has undoubtedly changed over time, but its goals remain the same: the enhancement and enrichment of our perceptions. In this modern age, video games dominate the average American child's life of entertainment. I think that's because the average child's influence in society is so limited, the poor kid has to find some place where they are capable of greatness. Since parents don't like it when they don't understand why their kids act out, they buy video games in order to make a scapegoat for them to use when they just don't want to find the real source of the child's angst. That's neither here nor there. For me, the best part of the video games is the music. A game's soundtrack often influences my willingness to own it, and I'm sure that many other people out there agree with me. If not, fuck you too. Anyway, I have compiled a list of what I consider to be the top 10 video game themes that I have ever heard up to this point. Because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube's copyright policies, and because I don't have the kind of software that can shorten songs on this list, there will be no music. So if you want to hear the song before or after you judge me, look elsewhere on YouTube. Believe me, these songs can be found. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, One-Winged Angel from Final Fantasy VII. Before you troll me for making this theme number 10, let me explain myself. While I admit that this theme makes Sephiroth out to be a badass, and who could argue that he isn't, it's still an 8-bit theme. 8-bit music was the first form of electronic music, and it sounded almost nothing like real music. The game's version of One-Winged Angel is number 10 on this list because, to me, it hurts Sephiroth's image. I mean, I almost laughed at Sephiroth because of this theme. This game was used on the PlayStation, which was capable of using relatively high-definition music. Furthermore, Square Enix, which is the company that owns the rights to this game, had already raked in a lot of money from Final Fantasies 1 through 6, so why they thought that it could get away with putting so little effort into the musical aspect of a video game eludes me. But even if the PlayStation wasn't capable of producing good quality music, they should have noticed that the piece was going to be kinda lousy because of the limits of the time. Looking back on it now, the quality of the piece holds it back from being a true masterpiece. I still think that the Advent Children's version of the theme is the best one, but that's in a movie, so it doesn't have a place on this list. Still, I felt that this theme deserved some place on this list because the blame for its failure can be placed solely on the limits of the time, but it still doesn't hold a candle to the awesomeness of the other songs. Number 9, Zero Squared from Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. Like One-Winged Angel, this is an 8-bit song. However, unlike One-Winged Angel, it evokes a multitude of emotions. I feel sorry for Zero Squared, excited about this being the final boss fight, fear for Kirby, and anxious for the fight. One-Winged Angel makes me feel a bit nervous, but not nervous enough to keep me from laughing at it. This theme, on the other hand, forces me to shut up and focus on the task at hand. Number 8, The Magician's Theme from House of the Dead 1. I admit this is an 8-bit theme, and I usually hate music that uses the style, but this song is one of the few exceptions. The song conquers the 8-bit barrier by getting along with it in the intro, then stabbing it in the back during the fight sequence. Like One-Winged Angel, it says, "To hell with 8-bitness, I'm better than that." But unlike One-Winged Angel, it actually has the ability to back up that statement. Furthermore, the fight theme is so catchy and fun that it gets stuck in my head almost every time I listen to it. When a song gets stuck in my head, I usually try to make it go away, but this song is different. I welcome it into my mind like a prostitute welcomes a dick into her vagina. It's simple enough to remember most of the notes, yet complex enough to be entertaining. That's just my favorite 8-bit piece. Number 7, Gygas Theme from Earthbound. Let's face it, without this music, the boss wouldn't be nearly as disturbing. Would you have been afraid of Gygas if you were fighting him to the Trollolo song? I didn't think so. This song proves my point. Music is made to enhance and enrich our perceptions. Plus, it's so well written that it obscures the fact that it's an 8-bit theme by using fractured notes in a creepy fashion. It makes me wonder whether the 8-bit music style is designed to be creepy like this, or this song was written to be creepy in order to conform to the 8-bit standard of the time. While this piece isn't my favorite 8-bit song, I must admit that it's too emotive and adaptive to not deserve a higher place on this list than my actual favorites. Number 6, Liberation of Grace Maria from Ace Combat 6, Fires of Liberation. The first half of this song makes it very clear to you that the rest of this is awesome. However, the build-up is so long that it becomes painful to listen to without skipping through it. When it finally gets to the badass part, you almost feel relieved that the build-up is over. Anyway, when you're almost done with the song, you realize that most of it was very repetitive, but you're too shell-shocked to care. I don't mean to sound like I'm tearing the song down, but it has too many flaws to deserve a higher place on this list. Regardless, this theme succeeds in delivering solid and clear emotions and images to its audience. It really made me feel like I was actually in the cockpit. This is the only song on this list that isn't played during the final fight of its game. It's also the most flawed orchestrated song here. However, it deserves a place on this list solely because of what plays after the build-up. Number 5, Solaris Phase 2 from Sonic Next Gen. I had some trouble deciding whether or not this song was superior to Liberation of Grace Maria, but I eventually concluded that it is. Why? Well, for one, while Liberation of Grace Maria tells me that I'm flying, this song makes me think that I'm kicking some serious ass. And I prefer to kick ass to flying any day. Second, even if you haven't played this game, myself included, you really know what's happening when you hear this song. You know that somewhere asses are being kicked on an epic scale, and because a lot of it is at stake, you have a reason to care. Finally, this song creates emotions that actually correspond to the thoughts it evokes, and it enhances the fight. The reason that it isn't higher on this list is because it's too bombastic, and because of that, its repetitiveness is too obvious to the player. If this music was played by itself, while you would feel like you were kicking a lot of asses, you would think that you're kicking the same asses over and over again. Number 4, Darkness of the Unknown from Kingdom Hearts 2. This theme has 3 parts that are very different, while being almost equally awesome and equally flawed. The first part is the worst of the 3, but that's just because it's too repetitive to hold my interest for very long. Regardless, this part made me imagine that I was descending in a glass elevator that led to the bottom of the ocean. The second part is the most lively of the bunch. However, this part fails to evoke any other emotion than excitement. Furthermore, this part is repetitive, but unlike number 5, the redundancy actually works for it. Regardless, it's still effective at enhancing the fight. The third part is the most emotive of the group. Personally, I felt helplessness for the character while feeling empathetic to Xemna's place in the world. You know, doomed to wonder the breach between existence and non-existence, and not being able to experience any emotion. All he wants is to be in, and I felt guilty about doing that for him. Number 3, Dark Star Core from Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This song is epic, with not only a capital E, but also with a capital P, I, and C. However, despite its epicness, the song's format sounds like a distant relative of the 8-bit format. But it's still better. Nevertheless, the song doesn't just enhance the mood of the boss fight, it is the mood of the boss fight. If something this epic wasn't played during the fight, you would have an easier time realizing the implications of the fact that even though you are Bowser, you're still fighting Bowser. How stupid is that? Number 2, Heroes Collide from Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time. This song ranks so high on this list for a couple of reasons. First, it enhances the fight way more than I think is necessary. I know that the fabric of time is at stake during this fight, but the game only gives one reason to care about it, and that's not enough for me. For the sake of not ruining the plot for all of you, I won't go into that further. Second, this music by itself is powerful. It really gets my blood pumping and takes my breath away by putting a knot in my chest. It says to me that shit is going down and you have every reason to care about the outcome. The fact that it's not number 1 surprised me a bit, but I just can't help but notice the song's blatant disregard for variety. And that's not very forgivable. Number 1, the Terran battle theme from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Terran is the real final boss of Birth by Sleep. Ansem is the real final boss of Kingdom Hearts 1. If you fought both of them with no music playing, you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between the two fights. They both have the same attacks, they both have the same attack methods, and they both do relatively the same amount of damage. However, the music played during each of the fights couldn't be more different. Sure, both themes make my heart race and they're pretty damn epic, but I believe that Terranort's theme is the superior song. While Ansem's theme made me feel like I was just controlling the character from a safe distance while feeling obligated to care about the implications of the outcome of the fight, Terranort's theme makes me feel like I'm not just controlling the character, I am the character. In addition, while I'm personally beaten Ansem and I haven't fought Terranort, I felt that more was on the line when I simply watched someone else fight him while the song was playing in the background. Plus, this theme by itself is awesome to listen to. It took me to a far-off place where every minute is a struggle, and every one of those struggles is not only worth fighting, but fun to participate in. I recommend that you take a listen to it. Well, that's my list. Before you downrate this video, or share some other form of negativity, I want you to listen to the songs I mentioned on this list so you can obtain some understanding as to why these songs seem so great to me.